Hello everyone, I'm Rich Lamont and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. You picked a great video to start watching. This is going to be a very good video. So, today I will be tying William Blacker's Ghost Fly number 2. This is a pretty difficult fly. It's got a lot of different components. This may turn into a 3-part video. I'm not 100% sure yet, but this is definitely going to be a challenge and definitely a fun one to do. So the hook that I'm using is a handmade hook by Mr. Graham Cully in London. Here is his contact information. If you have a need, you have some special hooks that you'd like to have made, he makes fantastic hooks. This is a beautiful finish on it. The point, the barb, the nice thick wire on it. It's really a terrific hook. This is an 8/0 O'Shaughnessy style, which is what the pattern calls for. I am using traditional Spanish silkworm gut for this one, and I'm going to fully gut it, which means that the gut will go the full length. I want to have a thicker body on this, and I don't want to have to do that with underbody material. So I'm using my Vivis 12/0 thread, and we're going to tie in this silk gut here. So I've already I've sucked on this for a little bit and kind of moistened it up. That gets it so it's a little bit more pliable, a little more bendable, and then you can take this and tie it right in. Now, being that the hook is such a large hook, I am going to have to be a little bit farther away from the camera, which is a little bit nice for me because then I'll have the room to tie, not have to worry about hitting the camera. But on the other hand, the details, you guys might lose some, but I'll do my best here. Okay, so what I'm going to do here now is just untwist the gut a little bit and start snipping them back one piece at a time at different lengths. And what that'll do is taper that down a little bit, so it's not just a sudden stop of the gut. I don't want to have that that ledge or that. I'm going to start to see here in just a minute. And nicely that tapers down. Now, wetting the silk gut not only allows it to be a little bit more pliable to create the eye, but that also helps the thread kind of sinks into that more, and it's a little bit softer, so you can actually kind of mold it around the hook a little. And as you can see here, it's not completely perfectly around the hook. So now you can just kind of take this and fiddle with it a little bit and make sure that you get it in there nicely. If you wet this, I notice it with Spanish gut more, if you wet it too much, it'll actually start to come apart on you. And you don't want that to happen, so just be careful of that. And I'm realizing something here. I usually like using my smaller bobbin. It's a midge bobbin. But I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch out and go up to a larger bobbin. One that's just a little bit longer. Just having that longer shank, it'll make it a little bit easier for me. Alright, so there might be a bit of also splicing going on in this video just because there's so much going on with it. I'll try to include everything I possibly can. Some things I may have to cut out just for time's sake. So switching out my bobbin, that's actually going to be one of them. So I will be right back. Alright, now the tag and the tip in the tag section here is tinsel and then quetzal. Now I was looking at how far back I can go, or how far back I have to go. I don't want to have too big of a tag, because I want my butt to be about here. And I kind of feel like maybe I should just go a little bit more down the hook. Just a little. There. And I'll come up about halfway. And the butt on this might be a little bit forward of the point, I think, judging by the shape of the hook. So you want the tail to kind of ride off the hook, almost as if it's a continuation of that hook shank. You don't want it to drop down into the bend too much. That's my personal opinion, of course. I'm not speaking that that's a general rule, but I think it helps make the fly look the best. So you stop your butt, and you make your butt right about where the bend starts, and the shape of the hook shank just flows back and up with the tail. Artistic senses, then that's completely different. Alright, let's wrap from here. that is way too big of a butt section. That is way too big of a tag. This right here is why this may turn into a longer video. I do, in a sense, want this to be more of an exhibition fly, more of a, have a little bit more of an artistic, well, not artistic, but just have a little extra flair than it was initially designed to have. So a little extra tag is okay, but that was too much, I think. If you look at the original versions, it's got a much smaller one. I do want this one to be just a little more. Man, that one sharp hook. Okay. All right, the next part of the tag is going to be it's supposed to be some Quetzal, but I'm going to use the emu, excuse me. So for the emu part, what we do is I'm going to take these little fibers here, and I'm going to use these to wrap around the hook shank. This is going to be I think this is going to be a little difficult and tedious. But we're going to give it a go. There might be some gaps in the threads, so to hide that, I'm going to use some of this bright green nylon. It's the only bright green thread that I've got that'll match that. That dyed emu. So I'm just going to come forward a little bit, and then I'll use the nylon, wrap over it. We're not creating excess knots in places if we don't need them. And then we'll come back to our black thread in a little bit. Sorry, I noticed I do a lot of clicking with my mouth in my videos. I didn't really notice that until I watched my own videos. So, I apologize for that. I'll work on trying not to do that. Alright, so I'm going to strip away some of these here. These seem to be about the longest. Probably only do a couple, 3 or 4 at a time. And my understanding is it's a process I'll have to do several times. I don't like using the nylon thread because this nylon thread is along the thick side. My understanding is the process for this is the same for Quetzal as well. I'm sorry, my thumb covering that, you're not going to be able to see that. Did not work. Grab a few more. Excuse me. What I'm trying to do is, if you look when you peel them off of the stem and you strip them away from the rachis, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little curl on the end there. I'm trying to catch that little curl with the thread, which is hopefully going to give me long enough fibers to do this. Unfortunately, these are such fine fibers and they're so small. It's quite difficult to get that proper wrap. And as you can see on the other side, it's not working. It's almost like I need one for each half, for half of the wrap, and then I have to wrap the other half. These fibers just simply are not long enough, unfortunately, for this. So I think I'm going to oh boy, I hate to give up on this though. And of course, if I can't do this, if I can't get these to work, I do have a backup plan. I will sub in some peacock sword, which is a little bit longer, it's a little bit thinner, but it's not as bright a green as this is. These fibers just simply are so small. Quetzal is not much longer, but these are incredibly small to be trying to wrap as almost as a hackle, especially for an 8/0 hook. This one, let me see if there's anything else I can do here. I really hate to say that I can't do this, but I don't think I can with the size feathers that I've got. So I am going to go back to the peacock sword idea, which I actually did already once, and I did like the way it looked, but it did not look the same. It's not the same bright green. I also used a much thinner thread. Maybe using the green thread will help kind of give it a little bit more glow. See, this definitely works. The thread does not make a difference for this, and I'd rather cover up the thread, so we're going to go back to the black. And just remember, I I cut that black. So what we'll do is we'll just pull the black out where we can see it. Make sure it stays taut. And then tie back in over it. And then we'll repeat that. And part of the sword I'm using, I found a smaller sword. It's got these really nice small pieces. And I'm just taking from right in here. I don't want the fibers to be too long. Not like your typical peacock herl. I want to make sure those tips are lined up. Get them nice and even. Just barely nicked my underbody with my razor scissors. As you can see, those razor scissors are quite sharp. And we'll do 2 more. Okay, and here's my tag, which is, it's a little bit on the larger side. It's bigger than than most would really have it. But that's what I wanted. I wanted it to be a little bit bigger. I wanted it to show a little bit more. Even though the tag didn't work out for me in the way the pattern calls for. I'm just going to go through here and clean up this part that I nicked. Okay. Alright, so here we are back at the vise. I meant to say follow me over to the vise, but fumbled over my words. Alright. Now, typically as a rule of thumb, people say, 1.5 times the hook gap, so that puts the tail about here, roughly. I'm going to strip away some of the fluff there. Strip away some of this outer fluff, and then clip a few. Being very careful not to actually cut the stem. If I wind up cutting the stem, well, then I'm in trouble. Cutting the stem, I'd have to soak a whole new crest and shape a new crest. Right now what I'm doing is I want it to sit a little bit flat. When it comes off of that peacock curl, that is going to kick it up just a little bit, so I was trying to compensate for that. As you can see, that's the kick up right there. Trying to find the size of the tail for this flies. I think I'm okay with it being there. I'm going to avoid these other barbules here. I don't really want the tail to flare out very much on this one, and I don't want any pieces sticking out. Of course, I could have done all this before I put it on camera, saved some time, but where's the fun in that? I like it. Now this one is going to be just a little bit shorter, and the rest of them are all going to be about the same. They're all going to be the same length. And this is the same deal. And then here's the tail we just put together. I'm definitely going to take a little bit more out of this. It's a little bit thick. There's a lot there, but I think I like it. I'm going to go with it. And I'm going to wind up taking this all the way out. The body is a dubbed body, but I'd like to keep it all uniform and have a specific taper to it, and this is going to help keep that all somewhat even and give me that body that I'm looking for, hopefully. Okay, so the tinsels for this are, it's going to be a layer of gold twist, 2 layers or 2 bands of large gold tinsel, oval tinsel, and then another band of twist. Now I do not have any gold twist, so excuse me. I'm going to attempt to make my own gold twist by essentially taking some small gold tinsel and just twisting it together. Alright. I'm just going to heat up some wax. Just a little bit, just to soften it up. Apply a little bit to the thread here. Now the butt for this is a fiery brown color, peacock herl, or excuse me, ostrich herl. In this case, the ostrich herl I have is actually quite fine. As you can see, these fibers are quite on the smaller side than what I'm usually using. Even though it's a larger hook, this just happens to be what I've got. So we'll I'm going to take out one of the... It's going to be a shorter one, but it's one of the fuzzier ones. I don't like these longish ones towards the tip. So they start off kind of short, but then they get a little bit longer. So what I'm going to do now is tie in a second one, which I don't normally do, but these are quite small. There we go. That's much better. Make sure it's snug. Excuse me. All right, now we're going to tie in the tinsels that we just made. So we've got our gold twist that we just made up here. What we'll do first is I'm using my hackle pliers just to keep them from untwisting. Alright, so we're going to tie all of these in, which of course poses an issue with bulk and since there's 4 strands, we're going to tie these all in the order that they go from back to front. So there's a gold twist. 2 lengths of gold oval. Those are side by side. And those we're going to do the same. Strip the ends just a little bit. And all this does is we're just stripping the outer sheathing off of these and exposing that silk core. Makes for a little bit softer of a tie-in point and a slightly better transition. You know, you're even though we're wrapping dubbing over it, you won't have to put so much to cover up any kind of a lump, or because even with dubbing you can still get a misshapen body. Tie those in side by side. Now, since these are all touching each other on the fly, they should all be touching each other at the tie-in point. So this last one here is again the twist. And get those tied on real quick. Just make sure that they're all laying in the right place. And then you can use your thumbnail, you can use a burnisher or the handle on your scissors and just kind of flatten all that out, mash it all down. Excuse me. Hold on just a moment, folks. I'll be right back. Alright. The hackle for this is a claret badger hackle. So what I've got here is it's a claret Indian, badger Indian neck. This is just the larger feather. Kind of towards where the end of the neck would be. Looks like it's going to fit rather well. Goes right on this side of that tinsel. And this wraps all the way up the body. Okay, the body, the dubbing itself is split up into 4 sections. The first half is medium blue pig's wool, the second half is golden yellow, fiery brown, and red. So we'll do blue pig's wool up to about here, and then we'll do the rest in golden yellow, fiery brown, and red. And I'm going to do it in that order. Golden yellow, fiery brown, and then red. Got a little bit of wax on the thread. I'm just going to tip the device back a little bit. That'll kind of get the device and the hook point out of the way a little. I'm using light brown pig's wool. No, excuse me, light blue pig's wool. You can see I'm not going overly thick on it. When applying a light coat of wax to your thread, you're not necessarily going to see a whole ton of buildup unless you really want it on there thickly. Thick. Is that a word? Thickly? Anyway, unless you really want it on there really thick, it will be, you know, just a thin coat that you'll see on there. So I know sometimes you'll see when I do this, you'll see like I have a big glob of wax that comes off. Well, that's really not necessary. Depends on the situation. Sometimes I do have a tendency to overwax a little bit. I do know that. Like right here, I think you can see there's a bit of wax on there. I think that's a little bit too much. So I just pull some of that off. Excuse me. Having a pretty awful day with coughing. Seems like every time I turn around the weather's changing and it always seems to bother me a little bit. Pardon me. Okay. Alright, so that takes care of the blue. We're going to do a bit of golden yellow. If you see how I'm doing it here, I'm holding the clump here in my left hand and then just feeding it a little at a time onto the thread and just pulling it on with my right as I twist it. And that gives you a pretty even that'll give you a pretty even rope of dubbing. I had someone ask me just last night if I use dubbing loops, and typically no, I do not. Alright, so golden yellow down. Do some fiery brown. And then sometimes you got to give it a little extra twist at the fly. Okay, and now red. Don't worry about getting stuff into your wax, it happens. You can still wax things and use the lighter periodically. It can clear off some stuff that comes to the surface, but I'll bet you that ball of wax has got every color under the sun in there. Go just a little bit more. Care of the dubbing. So now we can go ahead and wrap the tinsels. So I'm going to start with the nearest one first, I suppose. More than 5. I think it's got to be a little closer. I think that looks good. I'm going to try and do both of these at the same time. Okay. Yeah, that's right on the bottom edge of the video there. And what I'm doing now is back wrapping off of that gold twist as well to try and get it all tied in on the same wrap of thread. With all these tinsels, I definitely think there's going to be some bulk at the head. Okay, let's do the other one. Last one. Ooh. So sorry. I don't mean to be coughing in your guys' ears. I know this camera picks up quite a bit, so I'm sure that's a bit loud. Now this one I'm going to kind of fold as I wrap. Double it over. Let that tuck right in behind that tinsel. And just sweep it back as we go. I don't think I've ever had a fly that's made me so nervous. I wasn't sure if those tinsels were going to be long enough. My hackle is really just reaching as well. Now, as you can see, the hackle is a bit short. I'd like to have a little bit of this claret hackle right here, so I'm going to do just that. Okay. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to pinch pretty tight here, hold it all in place, and try to get it cut back a little bit more. Man. I've got a couple of different throats that are going to come in here, and I'm going to be using another claret hackle as well. So I just want to clip these out of the way, make sure that they're all tied in where they're going to be. Okay, we'll brush that out later. I've got my other badger hackle here, and I want to use from about here up. So we'll strip away this up here for a tie-in point, and then we'll strip away back here what we don't want. And we don't really want any of this. Should we get that far? We don't need much, just maybe a couple of turns just to give it a little bit of volume right here. Just to match the rest of the hackle on the body. Okay, the pattern calls for Quetzal to be in the throat. And it would again be these same fibers that were in here that we were supposed to use for the tail. So unfortunately, once again, I don't think that's going to cut it. So we will be subbing in one more feather. I have these green parrot feathers that are relatively close to what they're supposed to anyways. Maybe not identical, but I think it's rather close. The fibers on this are rather long. But if we only wrap one turn or two turns up front, then you see we get just what we need. So that will leave a little bit long. We're not going to pull away for a tie-off point, just the tie-in point. And we're going to keep that as close to the tip as possible because we want 1 to 2 turns of this green hackle. Typically, parrot uses hackle. You have to strip some of the stalk, and it gets very thick very quickly. You can create problems very quickly. What's going on here? That's already getting too long, so we're going to stick with that. I'm going to trim that and hook away some of these longer ones that we don't want. And then the front hackle is a fiery brown. Got a fiery brown hackle here. This is actually more of a kind of fiery brown badger, but I found one here that you can barely see the badger markings. And this one also seems to. This one also seems to get long rather quickly, but let's see. So we want to start wrapping about here. This time we'll just trim a little bit away. I'm just going to add a little bit of wax to this spot right here. The head location's starting to build up a little bit, so I want to make sure that there's no slippage. Now I'm going to take my needle, my dubbing needle, and just pick out some of this seal's fur a little bit. I think that parrot is a little bit too bright. But without the real thing, it's the best that I've got. So that's what I went with. I think it still looks okay. Alright, well, thank you all for following along. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, think about subscribing. Subscribing helps me out. It lets me know I'm doing a good job. And, you know, it kind of helps me keep creating content for you guys. If you got friends, you have family, anybody that's interested in fly tying, that's, you know, or even if you think this is just kind of neat and someone might want to see it, send them a link. Have them take a look. You know, it's intricate, it's fun, it's detailed, and you get to learn a lot about history and, you know, salmon fly history in general. I'll try to bring some more history to the channel as I learn more. As I've said before, we're all always learning, and you know, this is a learning process. So thank you all for watching. I will see you in the next video where I will build the top half of the wing. Until then, take care. Tight lines.